So anyway, while he's doing that, here's the reason why you don't want to break your neck in a house like this. Because have any of you all ever heard of the case of Elva Zona Heaster?
No.
Oh,
What is that?
let me. Oh, no. Stop. No breathing for you right now.
He's
breathing bad.
He's turning kind of blue, man, Daddy.
That's the absolute point. It's the blueberry pie.
It's the pie.
Okay.
It's the blueberry pie.
I get it.
You know,
Like
it's,
Willy
it's kind
Wonka.
of a Willy
Makes
Wonka
sense.
thing
I
going
got it.
on.
All right.
Yeah.
So
All right.
wait.
You're turning violet.
Violet.
All right, let me tell you the tale of Elva Zona Heaster. Elva Zona Heaster was born in 1873 in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. And she led pretty much an uneventful, if not kind of lonely life. Had one child out of wedlock and I don't think lived very long.
It's pretty saucy for the times.
Yeah, you know, just kind of living it up.
When was this?
This is 1873.
Oh, yeah.
Then, in October 1896, she met Edward Stripling Trout Shue, winner of the 1896 Most Kick-Ass Name Award.
Hand that man a trophy.
What did their family do?
Whatever the hell they wanted to with a
Make
name like
shoes
that.
for
you
trout.
know.
Trout's out of, or shoes out of trout.
You got it. You know, it's specialized artisanal trout shoes.
Fish, yeah, fish footwear.
Fish slip a lot.
They were ahead of their
slippery.
And also, throughout the rest of the story, I will only, for the most part, refer to him as Trout because why wouldn't you?
Right.
Now, Trout had recently moved to the town to work as a local blacksmith, a trade he learned from his father. And he found work in the shop of James Crookshanks, second runner-up in the Kick-Ass Name competition.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Elva and Trout had a whirlwind romance and were soon married, much to the chagrin of Elva's mother, who never liked Trout. For some reason, she took an immediate dislike to him and said, quote, "There's just something wrong about that man." Elva and Trout lived peacefully for a while, a very short while, because on January 23rd, 1897, Zona's body was discovered in their home by a local errand boy who did chores for the couple.
Oh, no.
He claims he entered the home to find Elva laying at the foot of the stairs, stretched out, feet together, with one hand on her stomach. The boy ran off to tell his mother, who in turn called the local doctor. By the time the doctor arrived, Trout had taken the body upstairs and laid her out on the bed. He'd also redressed the body, almost ready for the funeral, even though the job of cleaning and dressing a body was usually left to the women of the community. He dressed her in a high-necked dress with a stiff collar and a veil over her face. Mr. Shue, or as I call him, Trout, stayed with the doctor the entire time. He examined the body. I call him Trout. That's what I do. And he can go to hell.
He's
if he doesn't
coughing
like
again. Man, Daddy, he's coughing again.
Okay. Wait.
He is beat red now.
I think he's like trying to signal that he wants to breathe.
What? No. You're not ready for that. You're not ready for that. You're going to hurt yourself.
Mind over matter.
You're detoxing right now. This is the ultimate. Holding your breath for 8 minutes is the ultimate detox, Fritz. Come on. I care about your health. I'm here for you. Now shut the fuck up. Trout stayed with the doctor the entire time he examined the body. He was constantly sobbing while cradling her head in his hands. Noting Shue's grief, the doctor gave the body a very brief examination. But at one point he noticed slight bruising around her neck. When he went to look closer, Shue reacted so violently that the doctor just ended the examination and left. Zona's cause of death was initially listed as, quote, everlasting faint. Which is, so just fainted and stayed that way, is basically, I guess, what he means. But he later changed it to childbirth.
So you're saying, though, that this doctor tried to look under the collar here, and old Trout was like, no, not having any of that. Like,
no, not the collar. I love your collar so much.
Okay.
Please don't touch your collar.
That's not suspicious.
No, not at all. Not at all. Completely, anyone would be that way. Now, he later changed it to childbirth, even though he had been treating her for quote-unquote woman troubles, am I right, 2 weeks before her death. But whether or not she was actually pregnant was never known. Her parents were informed of her death, and her mother immediately exclaimed, "That devil has killed her." She automatically just knew that it was not a childbirth, that Shue or Trout had done some killing. Now, before the burial, Shue showed absolute devotion to the body, staying with it constantly, keeping a vigil at the head of the open coffin during the wake. Then his actions began to arouse suspicion. His grief would shift between sobbing and bursts of energy. At one point, he placed a pillow on one side of her head and a rolled-up sheet on the other. He explained that this would help his wife rest easier. He also tied a large scarf around her neck tearfully explaining it was her favorite. However, when the body was moved to be taken to the graveyard, several witnesses claimed to have seen, quote, a strange looseness to her head.
Oh, gross.
Which you never want to hear. You never want to hear that someone has a strange looseness to their head.
Like
except for this guy over here. He's not looking too good. You okay there, Fritzy? You're hit that. It's like the runner's wall. It's like the runner's wall. You'll get right past it. It's a runner's high. You'll have a choker's high. It's awesome.
He is now like a chartreuse color.
It's kind of, yeah, it is. It kind of is.
It's interesting.
Now, Zona's mother, Mary Jane Heaster, was convinced that Trout had murdered her daughter. After the wake, she took the rolled up white sheet back to Trout, but he refused to take it. Mary noticed that the sheet had an odd odor, and she went to wash it. When she put it in the sink, the water turned bright red. While she started scrubbing it, the water became clear and clear, but the sheet itself turned pink and stayed that way. She took this as a sign that Zona had been murdered and began to pray every night for 4 weeks. She prayed that Zona would be able to return and reveal the truth about her death. Well, 4 weeks later, she got her wish. Zona appeared before her mother one night, starting first as a bright light that slowly turned dark and slowly coalesced into her form. The ghost said that Trout was a cruel, cruel man who abused her. She said that he flew into a rage one night when she failed to cook any meat for dinner. I mean, seriously, no meat? What is this, a freak show?
What is this, 1740?
Thank you. Anyway.
What is this, 1740? I mean, it's 1875, for Christ's sake.
Now, Trout began to strangle her and ended up breaking her neck. To hammer the point home, the ghost of Zona then turned her head completely around until it was facing backwards.
Oh!
The ghost returned 4 nights in a row, recounting the story each time.
Backwards?
Just turned it all the way around. Didn't do the full Exorcist, didn't do the 360, but did a full 180. You know?
Like the Goldie Hawn Death Becomes Her.
Yeah. There you go.
Meryl Streep, whichever one that was.
Good reference.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Mary Jane took this info to the local police. They found it hard to reopen the case due to the testimony of a ghost, but to appease her, interviewed the doctor who had examined the body. When the doctor stated that he never performed a full examination of the body, it was viewed as reason to exhume the body and perform a full autopsy. The autopsy lasted 3 hours and found that her neck had indeed been broken. The report stated, quote, the discovery was made that the neck was broken and the windpipe mashed. On the throat were the marks of fingers indicating that she had been choked. The neck was dislocated between the first and second vertebrae. The ligaments were torn and ruptured. The windpipe had been crushed at a point in front of the neck. So he really went to town on her. So Shue was, of course, quickly charged with the murder of his wife. During the trial, it was discovered that Trout had been married twice before. His first marriage ended in a divorce, and his first wife accused him of abuse. His second wife died of a mysterious cause a little over a year after they were married. Trout's lawyer cross-examined Mary Jane vigorously on the ghost of her daughter in an attempt to discredit her. However, this backfired, as many on the jury believed her account due to her steadfast belief that her dead daughter spoke to her. Shue was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. He died in jail in 1900. There now stands a state historical marker near the cemetery where she was buried, and it reads, interred in nearby cemetery is Zona Heaster Shue. Her death in 1897 was presumed natural until her spirit appeared to her mother to describe how she was killed by her husband, Edward. Trout. Autopsy on the exhumed body verified the apparition's account. Edward, found guilty of murder, was sentenced to the state prison. Only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer.
Wow.
So you do not want to break your neck in a place like this, because then you're definitely coming back.